usually I start talking about the pick. There's my pick. And it's sort of on the thick side, about 1.2 millimeters. And it's got all rounded sides. And what I do is I hold it with my my thumb and the pad of my index finger. So I put it, it's almost if the thumb and the pad were touching, and the pick is just inserted. So the rounded part of the pick, can you see that okay? Does everybody see that all right? Almost becomes an extension of my fingertip. And the way I hold the pick on the mandolin is it's almost like that finger is pointing at the string. So the pick hits the string and the finger's pointing towards it. And I have a hyperextended thumb. So instead of looking like that, it's like this, which is not the case for everyone, but that's something that I just kind of took advantage of without realizing what was happening. So I'm pushing that right against the finger pad, and I hold it pretty firmly. I know a lot of mandolin instructors say, it's better to have a loose grip, but, obviously it works for many, many people. But for me, to get the tone I'm going for, I hold it pretty firmly, not so I'm white knuckling it, but just so it's firmly in my grasp. And what that angle does with my thumb going this way, it makes it so I can strike the string. Let's see, how can I best illustrate that? Rather than flat against the string, it's a bit of an angle. So it has a softer, that sound as opposed to this sound. So that's with the pick hitting the string surface just flat. And here it is at the angle I use. But a lot of folks already have the pick angled in a forward motion, which gets the same effect. So that's fine too. It's just sort of a tonal consideration. But I like the end result of having that angle against the pick stroke, and same angle on the way back up. Just like that. So, and then I rest the base of my palm, this part right here, on the bridge top. And it's not planted, pushing, but it's just gliding over the top. And then my forearm is touching the rim of the mandolin here. And that's, keep the fingers curved in. I think that's better than letting them splay out or planting them, because you can ultimately get more motion, which sometimes means a fuller tone and more volume. You don't always have to play with a lot of volume, but it's nice to have that in reserve, especially in a noisy jam session. There's a lot of little details about the right hand, and I always forget something. But what that does when I place my palm on the bridge, it puts the pick at a spot on the mandolin just over the fingerboard extension. If you have one of these kind of mandolins, not a Lloyd Lord necessarily, but just an F5, and that is kind of a sweet sound to my ear. You can get closer to the bridge and get a stronger attack, or you can go up the neck and get it more mellow. But I find that this is a great spot for pretty much everything for me. So that's basically how I'm holding the pick. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I like the rounded edge of a pick. So if you have a standard point and two rounded shoulders, I would tend to turn it to the side and use the rounded shoulder. And that's just a tonal consideration. A lot of people get great tone using the point, but for me, this is what I like. Any questions about any of that so far?
No question on that, John, but we're having, David Brown is pointing out some sound type issues. David, can you connect and let's see if we can
Sure.
resolve?
So I wanted just to double check, do you have original sound on up in the upper left corner?
I'm using an external microphone, and we checked it earlier, and it seemed to not be an issue.
Oh, because usually that's usually independent of the microphone, but the original sound is like you go to audio and then advanced
good to me.
settings.
So upper left.
Do you see anything in the upper left, or what are you using an iPad?
So he's got an iPad.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's going to be in settings.
Oh, hey, David.
So
Yeah.
How you doing?
Hey, John.
That's who's talking to me.
Yeah. It's on the, I think there's a settings maybe in the upper right. I'm on a computer right now. Is there where you could, and it's like a drop down of settings?
Yeah, there's a more, so there's nothing that says settings here.
Oh, it's in the more.
I actually don't hear any speech processing, so I think it's okay.
Okay.
Original sound mostly inserts a speech processor.
Yeah, and the other thought I had was when you started playing the mandolin,
Yes.
the sound level dropped. Like at least on a computer, you usually want to turn off the automatic level control.
Right.
So I don't know.
So you can hear my voice.
It all
Once you
sounded
play-
fine to me.
Yeah, play a whole phrase or something. I guess it's okay. What other any?
What is it quiet?
Sounds great to me.
Yeah, that sounded good.
Sounds
Okay.
good to me too. Oh,
Well, someone's outside. So, okay, I'll just make sure I play with a good attack and volume so you can all hear it. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So, I guess, so you're holding the pick, and I'll talk a little bit. I'll come back to the right hand, but the left hand, I think what you want to just make sure you're doing, certainly for playing fiddle tunes when you're in first position, is you use your first finger for the first two frets, second finger for the third and the fourth, third finger for the fifth and sixth, and pinky for the seventh. And as you go up the neck, you'll change those fingerings. But for any fiddle tune, anything in first position, that would be the fingering. And on one of the sheets I set out, it says Peghead Nation melodic mandolin tunes, fretting hand technique, and just the first exercise is a great pinky exercise, but it also really reinforces that fingering. So what it is we're starting with an upstroke on the seventh fret on the D string, then down to the sixth fret with your ring finger, back to the seventh, same ring finger on the fifth fret, back to the pinky on the seventh, and then switching fingers, middle finger to the fourth fret, back to pinky, middle finger on the third fret, switch fingers to the first finger, second to pinky again, first finger on the first fret. I got it mixed up there coming back up, but I'll play it through. And then if you do it very much, you got to make sure you shake your hand up because it's kind of a taxing on your right or your left hand, but it's great for any tunes you might already play that use your pinky a lot. And I know for me, my pinky is definitely the weak link in the outfit of. And so that's basically the fingering I use with the left hand. I think it's probably a good idea to try and use an economy of motion where you're not raising your fingers too high off the string, off the fretboard. Although I do, if I get going on a fast tune, my fingers fly a lot, but I recommend you do as I say, not as I do. But is that fingering exercise, is that all okay? All right. So back to the right hand, one of the most I don't really know what level you're all at, but this is something that I think is super important, is just to make sure your right hand pick direction is moving in the proper direction. So basically, for a fiddle tune, you'd be playing, if it was in 4/4 time and the tune was made up of eighth notes, you'd be playing downstrokes on the beat and upstrokes on the and. Say like Blackberry Blossom. So down, up. So it's not just a matter of playing every other note in the opposite direction. You have to make sure you're playing the notes on the beat with the downstroke and the ands. So there's a lot of times in fiddle tunes like Turkey in the Straw, that rhythmic figure, down, up, down, because it's 1 and 3, 4, 1 and 3, 4. So I just really recommend you make sure you have that sorted out. There's a temptation sometimes as you play a downstroke on an A and maybe the next melody note is on the E string, just to follow through. But if it's an and, you want to make sure you play the upstroke. And if there's tunes you play already that you know that's kind of an issue for you, I would recommend maybe starting on a brand new tune and just making sure you have that all sorted out for that technique. So that's kind of the basic technique I use. There's more stuff, but I'll just keep going here. And one of the tunes I brought is a tune called Jenny Lynn, which is one of the tunes that Bill Monroe learned from his fiddling uncle, Pendleton Vanderveer. And Bill, in the song Uncle Pen, he calls it the greatest of all. So I'm showing you, according to Bill Monroe, the greatest of all fiddle tunes. And why don't I just play it kind of at a medium tempo so you can hear it, and then we'll analyze it a little bit and try and play it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's the tune. That's pretty moderate tempo, but it can be played quick or back from that, just a nice dance tempo. But it's a great tune. It's mostly A with a quick E every once in a while. And first phrase is this: 2nd fret on the D string, open A, and then I hammer on 2 to 4 on the A string. Usually, you could go right to the 4th fret, but I like, or could slide. And then this phrase. So it's down, 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 up, down, up, down, down. It's really a challenge for me to talk and play at the same time, so I won't be doing that anymore. So that's the first 2 phrases. And then the next one is 2 on the D string to the 4th, to the open A, 4th on the A, open E, back to the 4th on the A. So that all together. And then that second phrase we played before. So the whole first line sounds like this: 3, 4. First one again. And now we're going to do something different. We're going to slide with your ring finger on the 5th fret of the A string up to the 7th fret. So that's a D note into an E. But we'll also let the open E string ring with that. And then an upstroke on the 2nd fret of the E to an open E. So 4 on the A, 2, and then that repeated phrase. So altogether that is so the whole A part sounds like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. And repeat that. And just, keep your right hand moving in this up and down pattern. Even if you're not playing a note on those upstrokes, just make sure, maybe exaggerate the upstrokes that aren't being played, just to make sure your right hand is moving this static 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I think the only little bit of a tricky spot is after the slide. So slide down. So it's a slide on beat 1, and then let your hand fall on beat 2, and then the and of 2 is an upstroke. Up, down. So far so good. That A part. Okay, this B part, let me play it for you one time. You'll get it in your head a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the beginning of the B is just walking up the scale on the A string. And then instead of an open E, we're going to slide into that E on the A string again. Right? And then this phrase. So that's 2 on the E, open E, 4 on the A, 5 on the A, open E, 2, open, 4 on the A. Let's just cycle on that for a minute. Just repeat that phrase. 3, 4. So walking up the A.
Yeah, John, something's going on. We're losing some of your, you're cutting out on the music. We hear your voice just fine.
Oh yeah? Huh.
Is anybody else experiencing that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I think his voice is going too.
My voice is
Well,
gone.
I've
No,
heard his
Voice and
voice.
music were both cutting out.
I've heard the voice fine, but the music cut out intermittently.
That's what I heard as well.
We should make sure everybody else is muted for sure. Check your mics and make sure you're muted.
Okay, let me play a little bit more. How's that? That's better?
It's better on my end.
Yeah, how about
I'll let you
everybody?
know if it cuts out.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. I'll just, maybe it's just, it needs more volume to come across. Anyway, we're almost through the tune, so.
Where it cut out for me was when you changed strings to the next higher string.
Oh, really? Huh, okay. Something just, message came up, but I missed it though. But anyway, here, I'll give it another shot. So we're gonna walk up the A and then play this phrase. And then walking up the A again. And this phrase. So that's 2. Well, Jeff Connor says sounds perfect from their end. Everything's fine. So I don't know if it's something on individuals' side of things. I don't know. But anyway, here's Jenny Lynn. So it ends the same way. So let's try that tune. And then someone suggested I might try headphones. So I'll grab those in a second, but let's just play this tune before, then you can look at it a little bit while I'm gone for a second. Here's the B part. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's the tune. A message came up, said, not headphones for me, but individual participants might want to monitor using headphones. And then I think Matt came on and said he was monitoring and everything looked good. So let's play the whole tune. It's a good tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. that's Jenny Lin. It's a simple tune, but I really like it a lot. It's, like I said, mostly an A chord, but once you get it up to tempo and you can put a little bit more character into it. And what I'm doing there is letting the E string drone along with the notes I'm playing on the A string. So that's one thing you can do. And then I like this sound quite a bit, where instead of playing everything on the A string, you play that same phrase up on the D string. So it's like those gypsy violinists when they go way up high on the low strings, you get that thick sound. But the reason I like it is because you can almost strum the whole 8 strings. So you get that sound. Is that coming across okay? So that's a fun thing, and you can apply it to other tunes too, like so there's that. I think about those drones. Say something about the drones. Was that it? Basically, key of A works great for this approach because anything you play on the A string, you can let the E ring, or anything on the D, you can let the A, open A string ring, or have the drone below. So there's that. And I mostly use this technique for singing songs, like bluegrass singing songs, like I'm going to go, what's the song? I'm Going Back to Old Kentucky, where the melody is. That's the melody that would be sung. But if you keep your right hand moving in an 8th note pattern, and then let the drone notes ring along with that. So slowly. It's a great technique for simple songs, but it's a way of making the melody come across in a more interesting way. Now, Susan, I think she had asked folks if they had any questions in advance, and someone had asked about different approaches to rhythm and the basic chop chord is what you use for bluegrass, but I like a lot of old time music and tunes in the key of A. I will tend to use just the bottom 2 notes of that chop chord and let the A and E ring, but I won't finger it with my 3rd and 4th finger. I'll go ahead and use my 1st and 2nd, or 2nd and 3rd. So this would work really well as a rhythm approach to Jenny Lin. So there's your A chord. So it's a more steady up and down rhythm. And I'm probably accenting the 2 and 4 a little bit more, just to give it that pulse. that, when it comes to the E chord, you can switch from, I should have said this, this is a 9 on the G string and 7 on the D string, and then an open A and an open E. And to get the E chord, you just drop down to the, keep your third finger where it is on the 9th fret of the G, and then the 6th fret of the D. And you can add this one back, it's more of a chop chord, and let the E ring to a G, or sorry, E. That was down to a D chord, which was 7, 4, and an open A, and then muted E, or just don't play the E. So that's a lot of times in a for an old time tune, and other tunes, I'll go to that strum pattern. And basically, any of those in the key of A, you can just play on the bottom 2 notes and let the open A and E ring, unless it sounds really bad. And it's sort of like you're playing double stops on these, for these 2-note chords. So any questions about any of that we've discussed so far? Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about double stops. There was, I think I sent out a sheet that said G double stops. And double stops, you know, it's just playing 2 notes, usually in harmony. And I usually start this whole introduction to double stops with these 3 G shapes. And what we're going to play is 3 different inversions of a 2-note G chord. Someone asked where the handouts were.
I'll send Nancy that on email.
Okay,
right now.
great. You'll get it eventually. So it's they all contain notes of a G chord. So the first one, we're going to be on the D string on the 5th fret, and the 2nd fret of the A string. So that's a G and a B with your ring finger and your first finger. It's also the middle 2 notes of a G chop chord. So that's our first G double stop. And then we're going to move up the neck to 9 and 5, same strings. Now that's a B note and a D, so that's the 3rd of G, of a G chord, and the 5th. So just to start, if this is new to you, you might want to just shift back and forth between those 2 to get those. And then the 3rd is we're moving on to the A and E string, and we're going to play the 5th fret on the A, 3rd fret on the D, on the E. And now we're playing the D is the 5th, the G is an octave higher than the root. So those 3 together are. So again, if that's new to you, just move through those till you can make those shifts. And I know Sharon Gilchrist, when she talks about these double stops, she calls the first one medium, and this one long, because you're spanning, this one you're spanning 4 frets, this one you're spanning 5 frets, so that's long, and then this you're just spanning 3 frets, so that's short. So medium, long, and short. So that's a helpful way of differentiating between these. And then you can continue up the neck and switch back to the medium, but up here on the 10th and 7th frets. So that's an octave higher than where we were here. And you can keep going up 14 and 10. And that probably makes sense to stop there. And then from here, where we started on 5 and 2 on the middle two strings, you can move down to 7 and 5 on the G and D. And that's an octave lower than this one. And then the final one to keep in this same pattern would be 4 and open in the key of G. So it's a good idea to get all those shapes over a G chord under your finger so you can shift around from those. And it's a way of playing, someone's strumming a G chord on the guitar. On the mandolin, instead of playing rhythm, you can just as you know, as your ear tells you what sounds good. Now we need to learn the double stops for the other chords, so it's pretty great. That's the thing about the mandolin, it's so logical. So anything you played in G, to play in C, just move down a string. So instead of 5 and 2 on the D and A strings, we're going to play it on the G and D strings. So there's a C double stop. And that's the sheet is just for G. So we're going to move down to C, 5 and 2, then up to 9 and 5, over to the D and A string, 5 and 3. Just to keep it closed, we'll go up to 10 and 7. And now we can go over to 7 and 3 on the A and E string. Up to, what is this, 10 and 8. So that's 2 octaves of the same thing. And then for the D chord, so I'm just referring to a 3-chord tune, 1, 4, and 5. You just move everything you did in C up 2 frets. So now we have 7 and 4. 7, I'm voicing the lower pitched string first, so 7 and 4. And then we can move for D, we can just go to 4th fret and open A. 7 and 5. A and E string, 5 and 2. Now we're on 9 and 5. And then 12 and 10. So there's the 3 basic shapes played in 2 octaves for a G chord, a C chord, and a D chord. So I've only given you the sheet for G, but I want you to, just take the time to think about how these work, and it'll, rather than give you endless sheets for each chord, just let you do a little bit of digging, and it'll all come together, I think, more quickly for you. Now, as the chord progression changes, and you're on a G and it goes to a C, you can go to this one I showed you, but you can also go to one of the other double stops, a neighboring one where, so you're on 5 and 2, and the chord changes to C, just switch to that. That's 5 and 3. And then maybe slide that up for the D. And then keep going to 9 and 5 for the G. So on the G double stop sheet, the first 3 diagrams show you the basic double stops. The next ones say G to C, G to D, and G to C. That just shows you how when you're on a G, you can switch to C double stop just by changing one string. And the next one, say you're on this G and you want to go to a D double stop. There's that. And then G, this G double stop to a C double stop. So that approach where you're just using chord tones, that's a very basic approach to double stops, and they get more involved where you have a harmonized scale. I'll just briefly show you this. So that's 5 and 2, 7 and 3, 9 and 5, 10 and 7. Then you move to the A and E string and you do the same thing. 5 and 2, 7 and 3, 9 and 5, 10 and 7. So it's just a G major scale with a harmony note above it. I just wanted to go over that because this next tune we get into has some other double stop shapes. And actually, this is when you may have discovered yourself, say in the key of C, this is another way of playing a harmonized scale. But we're using this voicing where the C is on top and there's an E below. So that's 2 and 3, 3 and 5, 5 and 7, 7 and 8, 2 and 3, same thing again, 3 and 5, 5 and 7, 7 and 8. So that's I call that the 6th inversion because the harmony, I think of the root as being the melody, and this note below is the 6th below, and E is down here instead of an E above. So that's kind of a quick explanation of some of this, but is that any questions about that? Okay. There's a tune someone had asked about, a tune of mine called The North Shore. Oh, good. Thanks, Scott. Scott says it's helpful. Or maybe you see that too. So The North Shore is in G minor, and it uses some of these double stops we've talked about, but not necessarily in the key of G because the tune's in G minor. So we'll be using the same shapes, but in different places. That makes sense. So why don't I play it for you one time and we'll go from there. So before we get into the tune, it uses tremolo a fair amount, and I'll show you this approach to tremolo that I use for these bluegrassy waltzes. And it's basically, you don't tremolo every melody note, you just tremolo the notes with a value of a dotted quarter or longer. So the first phrase, and the pattern I'm getting into for the tremolo is not just going up and down as fast as I can, but it relates to the beat of the tune. And I'm just going to back up before we play the tune too much. And I've got this metronome that, you hear that? It's pretty loud. And this is the pattern I play against the beat. So what it is, it's down, up, down, and then up, down, up. So it's just alternating, but it's over 2 beats. So it's almost like a little triplet figure. So I'm fretting the 5th fret of the D string, playing a G note. So 1, I'll put the metronome on, we'll play against that. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to slow it down a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I'm doing, just to kind of keep on track, is I'm giving that first of the 6 strokes a little bit more emphasis. So you start slowly, and I really recommend using the metronome for this, and then you gradually increase the speed. So we just started at about 66, something like that. So I'm going to raise it up a fair bit. So now we're about 92. So we have to go quite a bit faster to get it to really sound like a tremolo, but the idea of getting it slow is just to get the mechanics and the smoothness and evenness between each stroke. So I'm going to move it right up to 130 something. And what I've noticed is when I started out on the slower tempo, I was attacking it as if it was just single notes. But when you get it up to that faster tempo of 132 and higher, I tend to lighten up on the attack, so it's more like the pick is just gliding over the string, not digging down into the string too much, but just going along the surface. So really, to get it to sound like tremolo, you have to get it up to like 180 something or 190. If you don't get it right now, just try this approach and you will eventually. So that's how I approach the tremolo. I think that where the tremolo strokes relate specifically to the beat, it's called measured tremolo in the classical world. So that's the approach I used for this. And there's a famous Bill Monroe tune, A Lonesome Moonlight Waltz. So what's happening there is the single notes transitioning into the tremolo bursts. And the key to it is starting your tremolo burst with a downstroke, but also ending with a downstroke. So it sounds very succinct and clear. I haven't practiced my tremolo lately, so it's not quite as clean as I would hope at the moment, but it's really a valuable way to get into this tremolo pattern. So that's what I'm trying to do on this tune of mine, The North Shore. So we'll just go, if you have the music, just here's the first little phrase. We're hammering on from one first fret to the third fret on the A string. And you don't have to worry about the tremolo right now. You can just play the double stop. 5 and a 1, and then hammer on 3 to 5. And here's a different double stop, 1 to 3 over a C minor. Same single note phrase. And then this is an F double stop where you're fretting the third fret on the D and A string. And then our first double stop. So all together. And then five and 6, 3 and 5, 2 and 3, 3 and 5. And then this bluesy lick. That double stop that for the F where I'm fretting the third fret on the D and the A string, I just kind of bar it there, and then I pile all my extra fingers on top, which is maybe not the best looking double stop, but that's what I do. Then the last phrase. That's just an F note, a third fret on the D, and an open A. So that's the A part. And then the B part, we're starting on the 5th fret of the D, 3rd on the A, 5th on the A, and then we're on this shape again, 5 and 6, and walk down to 3 and 5, 1 and 3, and then 4 and 5, or 4 and 3. And then 1 A part. So that's the North Shore. Any questions about that? That's kind of quick through there, but the music is pretty much tells you what it's supposed to be. And if you have the recording of me playing it, you can reference that, and hopefully you like the tune. I mean, there's so much.
The overall pattern is A, B, A.
Yes, that's right. Or AABA, I guess.
AABA, right.
Yep. Or is that right? No, it's ABA. You're right. Yeah, it's because the second
beat is built into the A, maybe.
Yeah, what would be the second A is a different progression, so it's not the same. I'll play it one more time so you can hear it. Thank you. So any questions about anything we've covered or haven't covered at this point? Yes, no?
That's all good. The only thing I'm nervous about not having practiced this is playing the double stops with the right fingers going. Looks like you're going from first to second or third position or something
Yeah.
going.
Well, yeah, there's different, so this part, that's sort of a B harmonized scale with that sixth inversion. So if you forget about the tune and just go to the key of C to start with and play, this is how I finger that, 2 and 3. Let's see, sorry, that's the frets. So the fingering is first and second, and then first and third, and then second and third. That, I mean, there's other ways to do it, but that's how I do it. So if you move
Okay,
it
I'm
down,
gonna have a lot of fun with this.
good. So if you move it down to B flat, you have an open D. So you might just practice the harmonized scale in B flat, and then your fingers will naturally fall in the right frets. Also,
Okay.
practicing the key of B major, or B flat major, sorry, was a good way to go for this tune too. Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yep.
You typically, when you're doing double stops, you're playing either the higher, the lower strings, the higher up on the frets, and then there's a pattern, and then on the higher strings, the lower down on the fret, or you switch. Does that make sense? Like on
Well,
the
there's
B flat
different
scale. It's up the higher strings have the higher fret, and all the way up, and then the first ones you're showing us, it's the opposite. So I was curious if you switch.
Yeah, there's different inversions. So yeah, so let's see. Here's C with the root. Here's the C, and then there's the E. But now we're going to do a C where the C's on top, and I switch back and forth depending on the tune and how I want it to sound.
You typically stick with one or the other pattern if you're going to play in one place.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, there's all different approaches that, like when I went and showed you, I'm going back to Old Kentucky. I consider those double stops because you're playing two notes. Or there's the sort of sound. That sort of a Spanish sound.
Yeah. Okay.
So it really depends. I play. Sort of a sweeter melodic diatonic tune using the harmonized scale with the sixth inversions.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but hopefully.
No, I think, yeah, I understand. I think, yeah.
Okay. Anything else? If you go through this and you want to, there's questions, feel free to email me, and I think Susan can make my email address available to any of you, and hopefully I can respond and get back to you in a timely fashion. But I have a lot of my original tunes in this book on my website. It's from a CD called Up in the Woods and the North Shores, and there are a whole bunch of other original bluegrassy tunes of mine. And I also teach on the Peghead Nation, so you can find me that way too. So should we transition into the jam session now?
Sounds good.
Okay, so
Thank you.
Anybody have a tune they want to hear and play along to? Nope. Okay, well, I'll play one. Sorry, what was that? Someone said something, I didn't quite get it.
Salt Spring?
Salt Spring, oh, okay, I know that. This is a tune I wrote that people seem to like. If you don't know it, it's the first chord is A, second chord is B minor, third chord is F sharp minor, which you can play by playing 6 on the G and 2 or 4 on the D and an open A. B minor to D, stays on the D, back to the A. And then the B part is just D, A, D, A, D, A, E. Some of you may know it. So here we go, that nice tempo, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's play the B part again. B's. All right, thank you for asking for that tune. If you're unfamiliar with it, the melody is pretty simple. It's just so that's a real simple melody, but between those melody notes, I'm playing a down up on the E string. it gives kind of a frailing banjo effect. It's really apparent on the B part. The melody on the B is. So I'm playing. So that's downstrokes on the melody and then the down up on the drones. Just turned it back into a workshop for a second. But any other requests for tunes?
There's a couple in the chat, Sally Gooden and Banks of the Ohio were
Is there
requests.
a key request for Banks of the Ohio? Any key in particular for Banks of the Ohio?
Jay Smith, if you want to choose the key.
Okay. Well, I like playing it in C. So let's see. One, here's a Banks of the Ohio in the key of C. 1, 2, I saw a lot of stuff flashing on the screen. Oh, you're welcome. Glad you liked it. Sally Gooden. Is that a good one for everyone? Gooden. There's this way, I can't quite pull it off, but Bill Monroe used to plant his pinky on the 7th fret of the D string worked as a nice drone, but my pinky's not as strong as Bill Monroe's. You're welcome, Scott. Thank you. Let's see any other tunes. I missed some that came on the screen.
So they're showing Little Pine Siskin.
Okay, sure. That's a tune of mine, and in the key of D. It's got 3 parts, but it's the B part and the C part are just played once, so it's still like a 32 bar tune. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's Little Pine Siskin. I do teach that on my Peghead course if any of you are signed up for that. Any other requests?
Somebody just requested Indiana Firefly.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's the music to this is there. Sure. This is in the key of A. It sounds like A minor, but the accompanying chords are they don't really have a third in them, so it's kind of ambiguous as to the key. I guess it sounds a bit more like key of A major on the B part, but I'll just play it through. here's the solo. Sorry. And then it ends with. So that tune I recorded on that same record Up in the Woods. And the inspiration was the concept that someone told me that Bill Monroe wrote a tune that just used the 2-finger G shape and moved it around. I don't know the tune. I can't remember. It's called the 2-finger, I don't know, 2-finger something is what Bill Monroe called it. But I was intrigued with that idea. So I came up with this. So an A double stop to a D double stop down to a C double stop to a G. So it makes kind of a and a which that's the progression which I like, but it didn't seem like much of a melody, so I fleshed it out into and then there's that double stop. There's the C double stop. And that's sort of the background on that tune. Yes, good. Okay, Indiana Firefly, and that was named for my memory of going to Bean Blossom, Indiana to Bill Monroe's festival, which is really exciting. And it's also the first time I ever saw fireflies. Being from the West Coast, that was very exotic. Let's another tune.
Yeah, I have to say I miss fireflies out here.
Yeah.
Being from the East Coast, you just don't see them on these nice warm evenings.
No, they're pretty remarkable.
I did
So
too for a
somebody
long
else-
time, but I
Yeah.
got over it about 30 years ago.
So another request for Deep Dark Sea, and
Deep Dark
everybody
Sea.
don't be afraid to ask.
You know, that's is a great tune, and that was written by Nick Hornbuckle, who plays banjo in my band, John Reischman, the Jaybirds. But I can't remember how it goes. It's been at least 15 years since I played it, so I'm sorry about that. But I'm glad you like the tune. I'll tell Nick I got a request for it. How about, I'll think of one. Lonesome Moonlight Waltz. Okay. This is D minor to F, D minor, G to A, D minor, F, D minor, C, F, and then the bridge goes to B flat, F, G7, C, A7, and then D minor, F, D minor, C to F. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2. It's Lonesome Moonlight Waltz. That's a beautiful tune. There's a great version of this. You may be aware of this or not, but Tiny Moore, great Western swing mandolinist, and Jethro Burns made a recording in the 80s, and it was produced by David Grisman. And it's mostly jazz tunes, jazz standards, but they did a great arrangement for 3 mandolins of Lonesome Moonlight Waltz, and it's got some very nice chord changes. So the recording is called Back to Back, if you're looking for that. I think it's on David Grisman's label. Road to Malvern. Does that sound good? This is a old time tune, or a contemporary old time tune, Road to Malvern in the key of A. It's a nice tune.
I know you're getting close to the end, but we have 3 more requests
Okay.
before that one.
Okay.
Your
Oh, I
choices,
thought-
but Red
thought that.
Prairie Dawn, Dogs Waltz, if I'm saying that right, or Hartford's Reel.
You know, I like all 3 of those tunes, but I don't know any of them. I especially like Hartford's Reel, and Dog's Waltz is a beautiful tune, and Red Prairie Dawn is also a beautiful tune. I just haven't learned those, so I can't help you with those.
Seems
I'm
to me
happy
Red
to-
Prairie Dawn and the Malvern tune are almost the same in the A parts.
Yeah, I know they have that similarity. I guess Red Prairie Dawn is usually a slower tune, or slowish.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any connection or not, but hearing one, I was reminded of the other.
Yeah, they're both contemporary tunes. Like Road to Malvern was written by, no, I can't remember his name, but it's the other tune was also a contemporary-ish tune, but I can't remember his name either. That's what people say about Salt Spring, probably.
Written by some guy.
Okay, well, someone says let's go out with something we can all play, which is good by me. So I like, a lot of those tunes, like Soldier's Joy. That seems to be one that everyone might know. Listen, I can see a request pop up on the screen. Okay, how about if we end up with Soldier's Joy? Does that sound good? Thank you all for spending the afternoon with me, and I appreciate what the Santa Clara Valley Fiddlers Association are doing with these workshops. So glad I could be a part of it. So thank you, Susan, for asking.
And thank you, John, so much. And I've posted in the chat a few times about the tip jar. So this is our way of helping to support our musicians who we are attempting to get to learn from. So thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. And I miss seeing all my friends in California. So this is a fun way to see some folks. So here's Soldier's Joy.
And if everybody wants to unmute and say thank you, or whatever, let them know that you're all
Thank
there.
you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you, John and
Thanks,
Sue.
John.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice.
So much.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, we'll see
Thank
you
you,
again
John.
someday.
Thank you, John.
Okay,
Yeah.
take care.
A great session, John.
Thank
All
you.
right, thanks. Glad you enjoyed it. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Totally worth getting up at 5 a.m. for.
Was that the person from Australia?